Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome back to DV Live. I'm Amanda Acom, the marketing coordinator here at Desert Valleys Federal Credit Union. And what a summer it's been. I missed you all. I mean, don't get me wrong. Still a little sweaty, still a little nervous right now. But before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button and share this video, drop a comment. Let me know what topics you guys want to see coming up the rest of this year. So today, I'm actually kind of excited for this one because don't ever think you're too young for this topic. Today we have Cory Oliver from Oliver Law, and we will be talking about estate planning.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, Amanda. Thanks. Yep. Cory Oliver, Oliver Law. I do estate planning. It's not super fun, kind of boring. Sometimes it's hard conversations to have. No one likes to talk about mortality, but it's super important. It's probably one of the most important decisions you're going to make is to decide who's going to take care of you, who's going to take care of your kids, and where's everything going. And
the hardest part for me was who's going to take care of my dog.
Yeah, that's another thing. I have clients like, I don't care. The kids will figure it out. Who's getting my horses? Who's getting my dogs? Like, yeah, I get it.
100%. So before we dive into the fun topics, what's a fun fact about yourself?
I don't know if I have fun facts. I have interesting facts.
What's an interesting fact?
I lived in Korea for a year, and I'm getting fluent in Korean.
Oh, okay.
I also worked in paper sales for a couple of years, and I know far too much about paper. Like, if you just handed me a random sheet, I'd tell you more than you want to know about it.
Like Dunder Mifflin status?
Yeah, something like that.
Really?
Yeah.
What is there about paper? Like, I know there's weight, right?
Oh, yeah. There's weight. There's thickness. There's, like, the brands are different brightness, the pulp.
What?
Whether it's cotton or not. Yeah, please don't get me started. It's embarrassing.
It's okay. It's probably like me with coffee. Hence why I like.
Everybody cares about coffee. No one cares about paper.
I can tell you like how long you roast it, the acidity, stuff like that. It gets really nerdy really fast. Let me tell you.
I know that it exists, and I know that when coffee is good and when it's not. But I didn't know that. Fun.
It's okay.
So what's your fun fact then? Is it coffee?
Coffee, but another fun fact that I think a few people who've watched know, I have 2 different shaped ears. I have one that's an elf ear that goes up.
That's fun.
And then one that goes down like a normal person.
Huh.
Yeah, I know. It's a fun time.
That's more fun than mine. So
Everyone says it's because I was too lazy when I was a baby and I slept on my left side too long.
Do you still?
I don't know. Maybe.
Okay.
I'm definitely a back sleeper, and it's terrible to find a pillow.
Oh, yeah.
If anyone has pillow recommendations, drop them in the comment too. So estate planning and everything from there on out. We just had a pretty good turnout for a non-death by PowerPoint Q&A.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. A lot of more people came out than I expected, and some great questions. Some that I get pretty often, some that are out of left field, but it's always good to have people coming in with the questions because you never know what you don't know until you're in there asking.
Yeah.
And it was good.
So let's start with the simple one. What is estate planning and why should we do it?
Yeah, great question. So the estate planning is a broad description for, sounds so lame, planning your estate. It's basically putting different things in place so that when something happens to you, there are people taking care of everything. So that includes like a trust, which I'll get into, a pour-over will. Equally important are power of attorney documents. And that's basically where you get to put somebody in charge of making decisions for you if you can't. So if you're in a car accident and you can't take care of yourself, you can't pay your Netflix bill or your water bill or do all your rent, your mortgage or whatever, things that need to happen. I mean, the world moves on just because you're in the hospital.
Oh, yeah.
You get to put someone in charge of taking care of all that to make sure that everything gets taken care of. And it's more important when you have kids or animals, like who's going to take care of my kids? If you're a single parent and you've got a kid and something happens to you, you need someone that has that legal authority to do all of this stuff. And
100%. So back in 2019, I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Oh, okay.
And all of this hit me real fast.
Yeah. It's not fun.
So I was like, can't I just write something down on a piece of paper and if I die, it's all good? It's got my signature, right?
No. Yes and no.
Well, I was told no.
Yeah,
I was
no.
like, oh, okay, what do I do? But at the time, I was a single mom. I was more worried about my dog because at least my kid could communicate. And
true, yeah.
A lot of people, thankful for my village, stepped up. They're like, we got this. And I was like, okay, but legally,
exactly,
what do I need to do?
Yeah. So that's where, I mean, the whole estate plan comes into play. But, something that sucks about my job is I plan for the worst. So I'm the one that has to think about what happens if everyone goes down in the Titanic. Where's everything going to go? Who's going to cover everything? Who's going to take care of everything? And that's kind of where the trust comes into play, and make sure that there's someone in charge to handle everything. And we'll probably get into it later, but one of the biggest benefits of the trust is that it avoids probate. Probate is very expensive. It's very expensive, very time consuming.
Yes, I've heard some horror stories about that, and that's what kicked my butt into gear. Thank you, Mimi. So we're talking a lot about trust. What's the difference between a will and a trust?
So the biggest difference is that a will has to go through probate. That's one of the biggest misconceptions in California. See, there you go. Yeah. Most people think like, oh, I've got a will, I'm good to go. There's no probate. A will almost guarantees probate, to be honest with you. And probate is the court process, for those of you that don't know. You can look at the camera. For those of you that don't know, probate is the court process where the court takes all of your assets and everything that you have, home, bank accounts, kids, dogs, and decides who gets them. Who's going to take care of them, who's going to own them, who's going to do whatever with them.
Regardless what your will says.
So no, if you have a will and it's valid, the court has to make sure that it's valid. It's not just, written on a napkin. If it's valid, the court goes through it and says, yes, this will works. We'll do everything accordingly to this person's wishes. But it still has to go through that process. It takes, on average, an uncontested, like a not challenged will in California, takes between a year and a half to 2 years.
After you've passed.
Yeah. So fun, right? Because that's a year to 2 years. Wow. No one gets anything. It's just frozen in probate. So bank accounts, homes, property, whatever else is in there, court has to decide who gets what, and it takes time. There's creditors that have to be notified, other things that have to happen. There's certain time frames that have to go through, that have to happen before they can move to the next step. It just takes time. Gosh. Yeah, it's a terrible process. It really is. So that's the biggest difference, is a trust does all the same things as a will. You get to say who gets to take, who's getting the dog, who's getting the kids, where's my money going, where's everything, what charities am I donating to? Okay. But it stays out of probate. You put someone in charge, they manage everything. And the other benefit to a trust is that it's active if you're incapacitated. So if you're in that hospital bed and you've got assets in your trust that things need to be taken care of, other things need to be done, a will doesn't have anything to do with it. A will only kicks in if you die.
Okay, so that's where, with a trust, that's where the power of attorney comes in as well? Yeah,
a power of attorney is included. It's kind of separate. I don't know how far in the weeds we want to get, but a power of attorney is included.
Just run straight into the weeds.
Okay, so if you got a power of attorney, that's the person that you put in charge to make your medical, and then there's another one for legal and financial stuff. That's the person that can do those things. Okay. The assets that you put into the trust, so like at least a home, that's always going to be in the trust. Sometimes people put bank accounts in the trust, stuff like that. Only the trustee can manage that. Oh. Because it's owned by the trust, it's a separate legal entity than you. Okay. The trust is different. So a lot of times you want those to be the same people. Makes sense, right?
It makes a lot of sense because at least one person
gets to manage everything, for better or worse. But at least that's someone that can manage everything if you're in the hospital, or if something happened to you, you're incapacitated and you can't do it. This is a person that can. A will does not give you that option. Now, you can still have power of attorney forms and a will, but if something happens to you, you still got to go to probate.
So you could be lying in that hospital bed for 2 years before your house payment got paid?
Yeah. I mean, they'll probably just repossess it or something. I mean, not great things will happen if you don't plan for that kind of stuff.
I mean, generally, if you don't pay a bill for 2 years, I don't see many great things happening.
Yeah, that's a good rule of thumb.
Typically. Whether I'm in a hospital bed or just walking down the street.
Yeah. And so, in another thing, why, I keep saying that probate is so terrible, probate's expensive too. So, generally, you can go through probate and you don't necessarily have to hire an attorney. You can do it yourself. And I wish you the best of luck. It'll probably take twice as long and cost twice as much. But attorneys' fees for probate are set by state law. They're not, I have no control over it. It's not, don't shoot the messenger. It's set by state law, and you can even look it up on the state legislature. Okay. And it's a percentage of the overall estate. So, for example, in my presentation today, the average sale price for a Ridgecrest home right now, October 2022, according to Realtor.com, is about $280,000. The probate fees, I don't know if I want to hold this up for the class.
I'll be sure to drop a link, or I can also send this shot to people.
Yeah, probate fees for $280,000 are around 10 grand. That's just the attorney. Whoever the court appoints as the executor also gets that. So another 10 grand. So if
That's
you
just
want,
off the bat. Like initially, here's your fees. There you go.
well, it gets awarded at the end of probate once everything is done, but those are the fees that get awarded by the court. So if you've got a $300,000 home and you want it to be sold and going to your only kid, but you only had a will and your aunt or whatever is the executor and she hires an attorney gets 10 grand, aunt gets 10 grand, then the remainder goes to your kids. Kind of sucks, right?
Yeah.
And that overall estate value adds up very quickly because if you have a retirement account or bank accounts or investment accounts and you didn't update your beneficiary forms and it's just blank, I promise you, if everyone listening, you've got at least one account where you didn't update that beneficiary form. I guarantee it. I'm pretty sure I have one. It's just out there.
I know I do. I literally was thinking about this today and I was like, I should probably update my beneficiaries.
And you work at a bank. You know this.
I work at a credit union.
Okay, sorry. I apologize. We can edit that out.
We don't say the B word around here. Okay.
Fair enough.
Financial institution or credit union.
Understood.
He's a first-time guest, everybody.
Yeah, I apologize. The first time, last time. So
He thinks.
but all of those things add up. So once you start putting in, you know, your retirement that you didn't do the beneficiary, your checking, savings account, your school savings, all this stuff that you didn't update, it has to go through probate. That starts getting higher and higher and higher. And, you know, you start going to like, let's play that game. Let's say we get up to like $700,000, which is not difficult to get to when you've got a house in retirement and all this kind of stuff. You're looking at $17,000 per person.
Per person.
One for the attorney and one for the executor. I tell clients all the time, like, look, I make 10 times as much off probate. And I'm still telling you, go get a trust. Save yourself. Give that money to your beneficiaries. Give it to your loved ones. Don't pay me. Don't pay some attorney. Give it to them. And that's the biggest thing about a trust is you get to plan and help your kids.
That is insane. So everybody,
most people don't know that.
Here's your homework for today. Go update your beneficiaries.
I email clients probably far out more often than they would want to have emails from me. And I say, please update your Benny forms. Please update your beneficiary forms.
Yeah. It's something, so even before here, so I used to share an office when people were opening accounts. They'd be like, oh, do you want to name your beneficiary? I would say probably around 40% of the time people would actually do it. And they'd be like, nah, I'll do it later.
Yep. And then they don't. Or they'll do it, yeah, I'll put my spouse on there. Cool. What happens if they predecease you? What happens if they die? Or if you're both in a car accident?
Yeah.
Probate. There we go. It's that simple. And what sucks is that a lot of times I'll have, you know, couples that are married for a long time and a spouse dies and it's just too hard to take that other person off the form. It's too hard to change it. And I get that. But now it goes to probate because they're already gone. And probate forms, not probate forms, beneficiary forms, it doesn't work like if I put Susie and Susie dies, it goes down to Susie's kids. It doesn't work like that. It's Susie
who's on
and
the
then
form.
probate. Yeah, that's it. So if you put spouses on the forms and you don't put your kids on there and you both die, probate.
So what happens if you have your spouse and your child on there? Would it then go to the child and then probate?
No, that's the beneficiary.
Period?
They get everything.
Oh,
And
okay.
whoever you list on there, they get the percentage in which you designate. So if you got 3 kids, you can put on there, you know, a third to each one, or, you know, play favorites, you know, half and then quarter if you really want to. But you set it up like that, there is no probate. You go into the financial institution and they cut you a check.
There you go. So then, quick question about what's an advance directive. I know you can get those, you can go down to the hospital, fill one out, or they typically give it to you prior to surgery.
Yes.
Which is terrible.
Yeah, not when you want to start making literally life-changing decisions is when you're going under the knife. It happens, but it's not ideal.
I literally found out I had cancer on a Tuesday. I was in surgery on Thursday at 6 a.m. getting handed this blue and white paper. And I was like, what is this? And they're like, you need to name someone if you can't make a decision after this. And I was like, excuse me?
Yeah, or if you die.
I was like, I'm coming out of this, right?
It's not a fun thing, and it's definitely not the ideal time to do that. But yeah, in advance,
especially not with coffee. I had no coffee that morning. I was like, you want me to make a life-changing decision with no coffee? Yeah,
should be illegal.
I know, right?
We'll do something about that.
Thank you.
But yeah, advanced healthcare directive is where you get to lay out kind of like your end-of-life decisions or close thereof. So, do you want to be resuscitated? Do you want to be an organ donor? Do you want to, disposition of remains, cremated? Buried, taxidermied, whatever. I don't think that one's legal, but
it might be, maybe not in California. I'm sure there's a state that it's legal.
It's probably just frowned upon here.
Maybe.
But yeah, that it's where you get to make those decisions, and that's what the hospital turns to. Because if something happens to you and you've got one of those on file, that's what they have to follow. So if I have clients that say like, look, if I go pull the plug, like I'm done. I don't want to be a vegetable. I don't want to be on life support forever. And if they don't have that on file, the doctors are going to do what they do, and they're going to try to save you because that's their job. Well, if you don't want that, then you need to have that on file somewhere, and that's what the Advanced Healthcare Directive. It also used to be referred to as a living will some places, but just similar terminology.
So what if you have one of those and it conflicts with, say you have two. What if you fill out a different one when they're conflicting?
The most recent one will be the one that's controlling.
Okay. Good to know. Mm-hmm. I should probably go fill that out again. Make proper choices. So pros and cons of planning this early in life. Like, I'll be honest. I was like, I'm 30. I don't need to plan anything. I don't really have a lot of assets. This seems dumb for me to do.
Yeah. 90% of my clients are reactionary. They come to me after something bad happened to them or happened to their family because they don't want to talk about it. No, like I said, most of what I talk about is not fun. It's not cheery. It's not stuff. People don't want to talk about mortality. So no one wants to come in and say like, yeah, I need to contemplate, what if I die? Who's going to get all this stuff? They don't want to do that. Or, it's just, yeah, it's important, but I'll get to it when I do. And then they never do. And then, the worst happens. But it's definitely important. Everybody, unfortunately in California, if you die and you own a home and there's nobody else on that deed, it's going to probate. And again, probate's not the end of the world. It's not, the worst case scenario is you end up paying someone a lot of money to do what could have been done for a lot cheaper and a lot faster and a lot easier and for a lot less headache. Worst case scenario is your stuff goes to someone you don't want it to.
Okay. So
that's another thing with a will or a trust is you decide who gets what. I've had plenty of clients where they don't want stuff going to, maybe they've had a kid that's just, they don't want them getting the money. Maybe they don't have a good relationship, or maybe that kid is having substance abuse problems and they're worried that if they get the money that they will put themselves in the hospital. They'll go out and spend it all on whatever their choice is.
Or the morgue. I mean, there's definitely those things. And I get where it's stressful, where people don't want to talk about this.
Yeah. And again, like young people, like I've got a kid and I know I need to do something, but as soon as we sit down and start having those conversations, they're like, I don't want to talk about who's going to take my kid if I die. I don't want to think about it. Cool. That doesn't make it go away.
Doesn't make it any easier.
Yeah, that just ignoring it doesn't solve the problem. It's still something that you really should plan for and take care of as soon as possible.
So someone turns 18, they can come and start divvying their stuff up if they have anything? Like
technically.
Okay.
I guess I should say you don't technically really need an actual trust until you, I don't like saying when you don't need something. When you own a home, you will need a trust because that's the only way to pass it on to somebody else without, probate or other things. But if you don't own the home, I still recommend it because eventually you will. You're going to own something, and it's just easier to have it in a trust, even if you just have, let's say you rent forever and you've got bank accounts and investment accounts and all this stuff. Pour it into the trust. Make the trust the beneficiary and have it divided that way. You can still use the beneficiary forms in your financial institution of choice. You can. There's nothing wrong with that. You can. The trust is just another option because along with the trust and the whole estate plan, you get those power of attorney forms, medical health care directives, medical power of attorney, all that other stuff that helps you plan for everything.
It's kind of the one-stop shop for if I died, my husband could just be like, okay, here's everything.
Exactly.
Versus going X, Y, Z.
Yeah, the idea is that we plan enough stuff and we get enough information and everything in there so that you don't need anything else. Okay. And it's a long process. It's not, this isn't something we should knock out in like a day or two. And
that's what I was thinking too. I was like, how long does this process typically take?
I hate to give the standard attorney answer, but it depends. It depends on everyone's financial, or not their financial, but they're just family dynamics and just overall situation. I've had some clients that were done in a couple weeks to a month, and I've had other where we're going for about a year and a half, and they're just still trying to figure stuff out. Life comes, life happens, and I get that. I get it. So, yeah.
Pandemics happen.
Yeah.
Things shut down.
Fun stuff. Yeah. So, generally, however long it takes is really kind of up to the client because it depends on what decisions they want to make and how long they want to talk that through and how many things we want to plan for. But it is important to get stuff done. A lot of hangups I have from clients is like, especially younger ones that have children. There's like, well, I don't know who I want to raise my kids. It's like, I get that, but pick somebody. It doesn't have to be the best person. It just needs to be the best for now. They're revocable. They're changeable. So we can change this stuff down the line. But especially if you don't know who to pick, it's probably because you don't want your immediate family or you don't want somebody.
Yeah.
And if you don't pick somebody, the court will pick for you. And it's not always going to be the person you want.
It'll probably be someone you didn't want.
Probably. They're probably going to pick someone that's closest, that they think has, the ability to raise your kid. And that's not always who you want.
Yeah, that's a fun time.
Yeah, right? And see, no one wants to talk about this. This is why we'll have this conversation. Like, yeah, I don't want to talk about that.
Literally bringing me back to June of 2019. It's like, gosh, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to make this decision. And I had to make these decisions.
Yeah. So you have the option of making this decision in your time frame when you can clearly and level-headedly make these decisions and plan everything. Or you can do it when you're literally being wheeled in under the knife.
Which would you rather do? Yeah. Let me tell you, because then you have to go back and change it all.
Yeah. And you're still not setting up a trust. You're just making medical decisions. So it's just,
it's a fun time.
The sooner the better. Fun. I told you, fun stuff, right?
Everything is so fun and exciting. Yeah. I mean, it's a great time. So what are some cost comparisons? I mean, obviously not hard numbers, but estimates on planning early versus not planning. Like, I mean, obviously we talked, it can go up to 17.
Oh, no, that's just, it can go way more than that. I mean, I have a client in San Diego that has, it's a San Diego home. So their estate is several $1 million and their probate fees are tens of thousands of dollars. Like $30,000 to $40,000.
Wild.
And the executor also gets that because it's going to probate. So that's, $60,000 to $80,000 that's going to something that's preventable.
100% preventable.
Yeah, just get a trust. Get a trust and put your stuff in a trust.
So how much does a trust start about, like, as we start going? Can you even put a dollar amount on that, depending on?
Can you put a dollar on safety? Peace of mind. Yes, you can. So,
okay, perfect.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm hesitant to do that because I don't want to feel like I'm here to sell something.
Then prove it. You don't have to.
You put me on the spot.
I know. This is what I do.
That's okay. So... Is this like edited or is Ethan just going to run live? We can edit it. Okay, so I can just meander around. So yeah,
we're just going to run live straight through it.
Perfect.
Well, I'm curious myself. I mean, having this conversation, I got kids, and I want to know how much.
For everybody watching, we have our wonderful Nick Wakely right over here asking questions.
Is it $250 to sit down and get like a basic draft, or is it $500, or what is the deal?
Okay, super valid questions, fair questions. So. I do not charge any consultation fees. So if you just are curious, you just want to know about stuff, you want to sit down, we want to talk because you didn't listen to DV Live and we'll go through and talk through for an hour. It's educational. Fine. Don't worry. I don't charge anything for that. The trust itself, so for an individual trust, just a single person, they're not married, kids or whatever, it's $2,500. And that includes the trust. So here's like the whole estate plan. So this is just an individual's. And this is going through like everything that's in there. And I really
that is one person's estate.
I really feel like I'm like an infomercial, like Slap Shop or something. But
no.
So this is a person's estate plan. And there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. So for an individual one, it's I charge $2,500 and I do the transfer fees for any properties that are going to go into the trust as well. For a married couple, a joint one, it's $3,500. And that's flat and that's it. So I don't charge consultations. For the most part, it's revocable, so anything you need to change, we can change down the line. I really, really try my best not to charge for anything. Realistically, I've got your information on my computer. If it's a simple change, I'm just typing something and printing it. I don't think I need to charge for that. It just seems ridiculous.
Don't need to charge $100 for that?
I don't know if I have the best business model, I'll be honest with you, but I don't like charging people for something.
I feel like you have a very honest business model.
I hope it pays off.
Which is appreciative. I actually did hear great things from people that were talking. I was going through the lobby today when you were doing your presentation, and someone had said you had helped their family member with another financial institution up the way, and you actually drove in, went in, and talked to them because they weren't getting answers.
Yeah.
And they were like, what did they say? He's the best attorney that's not an attorney ever.
I will gladly take that.
And I was all, what? And they're like, he's very honest. He gets his work done and very, you break it down in small chunks to where people feel comfortable talking about what happens after death.
It's overwhelming. There's a lot of stuff, and it's dark, and it sucks, and no one likes to talk about it. So it is kind of stuff you got to do piece by piece and bite size.
I will say I kind of wish this binder looked like the Beetlejuice handbook for the deceased. I'm kind of disappointed it's just a blue binder.
I'll work on that.
Thank you.
Taylor, you can always get a different binder. But
Just kidding.
yeah, there's I don't know how much I can expound on that, but yeah, there was a client that was having an issue with an institution and was just getting the runaround. And I literally just sat in there and just said, look, just do this. This is not difficult. Here's all the forms here. I don't know why it's requiring me to come in here and do this. And they problem solved the next day. I didn't charge her anything. And she told me, like, I'm so happy you did that. Please send me a bill. And I said, no. She said, I would literally pay you anything. I said, that's exactly why I'm not charging you. Because it's ridiculous that it took me to go in there and just a person in a suit to get to them to do something that they should have done already. And they did it. And because you're in that situation, yeah, you would have paid anybody anything. And that's exactly why I'm not charging you.
I'm sure it's hard enough, especially in any situation. Like, obviously, there was a death involved, and so no one should have to stress more about that.
And that's the best gift you can give your loved ones with a trust, is that they don't have to deal with that kind of stuff. The more you plan ahead, the more things you set out and you get everything set for this is how much is going here and here. Here's the people that are in charge, and here's where everything is, and here's where everything is. All this stuff. Now, if something happens to you, your loved ones get to celebrate you and love you and do everything around you. They're not worried about, oh, did you go to the bank? And did you do the B word? Did you do this? Did you do that? Did you blah, blah, blah? Oh, no, they're not doing this and they need blah. Nobody wants to deal with that.
Yeah.
So that's the greatest gift you can give your kids, your loved ones, is a great estate plan so that they don't have to deal with anything.
So not burying money out in the backyard and doing a scavenger hunt.
Leave a map.
No.
Okay.
My kids can figure it out. I'll put a dog treat in each one, and let's see who takes care of the dog. You're going to figure it out.
The dog's going to dig it up, but yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
That's not a bad idea.
I know.
I put that in there too with my Beetlejuice portfolio.
Yes. Yeah. Don't you wish you had me as a client?
We'll see.
Are you sure?
We'll see.
So, what are some other specializations that you guys offer clients, though?
So I do estate planning, which is the whole living in trust. I also do probate.
Okay.
I don't like probate because to me that means that something went wrong or someone didn't plan, and either way. But I do that, and I also do what's called trust administration, and that's just the back end of when you create a trust. Sometimes people need a little bit of help, like, I've got this giant binder, what do I do? And it's like, this is too overwhelming. It's okay, we'll sit down and we'll go through it, and I'll show you where everything is and what your next steps are, and just kind of guide them through that.
And that would be the trustee coming in with this binder, be like, hi, I got this. What do I do now?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. So that's awesome.
That's it. I really try to stay in my lane. That's what I do.
Oh, yeah, me too.
I did insurance defense when I was a new attorney, and that was miserable, but learned some valuable lessons about stuff. But yeah, right now, I'm just estate planner, thankfully.
What is worse, insurance defense or paper products?
Insurance defense.
Oh.
Yeah, by far, easily.
Okay. Got it.
Paper never made me cry.
Really? It makes me cry on a daily, like paper cut. I'm like, really?
That's true.
And then the worst is paper cut, and then you're trying to make jalapeno poppers. I made the worst decision of my life that day.
Oh, yeah, or anything with lemons.
Yep. So.
Or when you discover a paper cut because you use like hand sanitizer, you didn't know it was there. Yeah. Fun, yeah.
Let me tell you, 2020, I discovered so many paper cuts that way.
Right?
I was like,
fun year.
What is happening? Well, thank you so much for being on today. I will be sure to tag you so people can reach you.
Cool. Thank you.
And then drop your information as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate you having me on. Thanks again for hosting the session that we did today.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll have one in the future. Maybe we'll even film it and put it on and stuff like that. But this was great. And I hope that your members got value in it. I hope they found it educational. And it was great. Had a lot of really good questions.
Maybe we'll set something up for the spring. Oh, yeah. Off the wall questions, left field questions. What was one you got today? No, now I'm putting them on the spot.
There's so many. A lot of people have questions just about like how beneficiaries work, beneficiary forms. Okay. If I put myself on a bank account, is that okay? If I put what if I just put my kid on the deed? Can I do that? I'm like, please don't do that. Like you can, but there's taxes and this, just don't do that. So it's like, it's very common questions. I get them all the time because people are just trying to, think outside the box or try to do different things or just have their questions. And it's usually, it's people ask like, can I just do this online? Like, can't I just print out a will online or a trust online? It's like, you can YouTube dental advice, but I don't recommend doing that. Like,
Stop it.
I can do you can look up on YouTube on how to do your own root canal. It's probably not a great idea. Same thing. Technically, yeah, you can do your own will online. You can do your own trust online. You can. I don't recommend it.
You mean it's not just an editable PDF that I just type out, print out, sign?
Probably not. And if you do it, it's probably not valid under California law because most people will just Google something like, oh, I found this on some website and it's not California compliant. It's just from something from some other random state and that's
from
not
Georgia.
a thing here. It get a lot of fun questions.
I can only imagine people trying to save a buck, save some time, filling it out at 2:00 in the morning from a different state.
And then it ends up in probate anyways.
Yeah. It's a good time.
Yep. Fun stuff.
Well, thank you again for being here. Anyone, if you have questions, be sure to drop them. I can forward them on, and I will definitely link to how people can reach you and ask you all the weird questions.
Perfect. Keep them coming. Thank you. I really appreciate this. Thank you again.
Yeah. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take care.